What's happening, Aquarium Nation? I'm taking you back to my house. So I've taken you guys over to my house. I switched all my personal aquariums to live planted tanks, and I've had a blast. So I put all three of my systems on CO2, and that was about 5 weeks ago. The last video you guys saw, actually, I just put my living room 150 on CO2, and I'm telling you right now, the amount of time I've been wasting years on aquariums, on planted tanks, without CO2 is ridiculous. Like, what was I doing this whole time? I don't know. Know what it is? I'm gonna tell you right now. You're afraid of it, right? They make it look so complicated, so hard to get into. You're terrified of killing your fish because you're afraid of doing too much. I'm telling you, the way overcomplicated we're making this scene has been insane. And I'm telling you, now that I've been doing it, I absolutely love it. And for a guy that did reefs, did this, did that, for my own personal home, I'm telling you right now, doing the live planted tanks with CO2 has been my personal favorite. So this is my home aquarium now after doing CO2 for about 5 weeks. So in the 150, you can see I got so many fish. My style is jam-packed. Now, everyone that doesn't know, you got a 150-gallon tank with a 30-gallon sump. I'm also running a stainless steel UV sterilizer with micron socks. The only media that's inside this is scavenger resin, and the rest is just media. So everything's controlled by that, and I do 75% water changes, yes, huge water changes, bi-weekly. This has been the outcome over the last 5 weeks, and the colors, the growth has been unbelievable. And understand the macro and the micro dosing. That's been another thing. It took me a little bit of a minute, but understanding how I'm dosing every other day. Trace elements, I'm using iron, nitrogen, and potassium are the main ones that I'm using in these tanks. I don't get into phosphates because I feed so heavy and I use a lot of flake that I seem to get a lot of growth off of that. But you can just see in the tank, the geophagus, the hecli, which you're probably not gonna be able to see in here full time, but you've seen the size on them, the angels, the rose lines, and just the overall tetras make the entire tank pop. And just look at the plant growth all the way to the top. If I left these alone and I didn't cut them, they'd be all the way to the top of the tank in less than a week. And the overall growth looks absolutely amazing. How healthy the plants are and how fast they grow and water clarity and everything else is just, it's gonna make you wanna do it. So how do we get into it? I'm gonna show you what it is, how to get into it, and just my own 2 cents, my own personal experience. This is the 150 in the bedroom. Reef ready, full sump on the bottom. I got a 30-gallon sump, stainless steel UV sterilizer, and I also have done by micron socks. For how many fish there is and how much we feed, my nitrate levels always down to almost zero, even though I still do a 75% water change every other week. So this is a 20-pound CO2 tank. We're actually selling these now at the shop, so if you want to get into it, any of this stuff that I'm showing you guys today, it's all available now at the shop. We just brought these in. This here is the regulators. Now I'm going to do this all on the outside just so you guys can see it, but normally I'd take it and put it underneath the tank. You got the regulator, the solenoid valve, and the bubble counter, right? So this is the bubble counter, and I had to learn a lot from Joe and my buddy Justin. You know, it's been a massive learning curve, and I just love it so much. It's been such a passion. So very simple. So what the solenoid does is it's going to run the CO2. So this allows the CO2 to pass through and go into the tank, right? We only want to do that while the lights are on. Reason being is that exchange for the plants taking the CO2 is only when the lights are on during the day. They stop that exchange at night. So you do not want to run it at night. You will gas out all your fish, and that's where you get yourself in trouble. So you have to make sure you get yourself a good timer to put it on. So the rule of thumb is an hour after the lights go on and an hour before the lights go off is what you want to set it on. And that's how so far worked very, very well for me. So we just take this, we're going to put it on the CO2. You are going to need a wrench. You're not going to be able to do it hand tight. I'm going to plug this into the wall so you guys can just kind of see what's happening here. All right, now you can see the lights on. Way too much. So you just got to make sure that's in. We're going to pull it down. Now, average rule is you're not going to be able to use water in this. There is a solution you're going to get from this. We'll actually have that. We're bringing in all the Dimax, all the Dimax planting stuff to all the stores. You're going to start seeing that show up between all 3 locations over the next week or so. We'll have all that. We'll have the solenoids, we'll have the diffusers and everything. So we're going to take this, and rule of thumb is we're going to say 3 bubbles per second. And I push it, even though the tank is, and it's more forgiving because the tank's reef ready, right? We're putting a lot of oxygen still inside the system. But and you'll be able to tell, the fish will start, looks like they're shooting up. They're like submarine and they're going up. That means you're restricting too much oxygen from the tank and they're taking in too much CO2. You don't want to do that. So if you see that, definitely draw it back down. And then this here line goes all the way up and you go right to the diffuser. The diffuser stops it, and you takes it, and it's dispersing all that CO2 in the air. I like to use a power head. The power head then blows it to the rest of the tank all the way across, because they can only take so much in it. When they get, at the end of the day, if you're really doing it right and you got it looking great, at the end of the day, right when I turn off like the CO2 an hour before, you'll just see the plants hurling and then just purling these oxygen bubbles off of it. It is one of the coolest things ever, and I absolutely love it. But this is it. I'd like to tell you guys there's so much more than this. That's it. And then dosing the iron, the trace elements, the nitrogen, and the potassium. You might have to do a couple more things, but that's it. And I'm getting on a bi-weekly schedule, and it's not that much you're dosing, but for the fast growth and how much fun it is, and how much just being a part of watching the instant gratification with all the colors and the amount of fish, this has been kind of most fun of all the tanks I've been able to do. And if you guys are following us, I've been on a 20-foot tank right now up in Cranston. Please let us know. We're doing this the whole way, and I can't wait to show you guys that. If you guys have any questions, make sure you check them out. All locations are going to start having the CO2 available. We are working like a rental program. You bring in a tank, you buy a tank, you bring it back. That will be available if that's something you're interested in, and we'll have all the CO2 equipment start showing up in all the stores over the next 3 weeks.